Good to hear that music on this Wednesday afternoon. The String of Pearls with Glenn Miller always gets our Wednesday Helping Seniors of Brevard program underway. And let's do that right now. Introducing the host of Helping Seniors of Brevard and the executive director of the organization. That is none other than Kerry Fink. Good afternoon, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper, and thank you. It's always great to be on the radio every Wednesday, 12 noon, right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF, and welcome to those who listen to this online at WEJF.net, and those also who catch this, a growing number who catch this along the way as a podcast, because we make sure that we take each broadcast and get it out there wherever you get podcasts, anything from Spotify radio to Apple iTunes to, hey, Alexa, play Helping Seniors Radio. If there's a podcast way we can get it out there, we're doing that. And also, by the way, we take every radio show as well as the TV shows, and we make those available on both our YouTube channel, Helping Seniors of Brevard, and our Facebook page, Helping Seniors of Brevard. So I invite you to check there or anytime our website, helpingseniors.brevard.org. So kind of with all of that out of the way, really, we've got an exciting time together. Let me go ahead and get our guest right in here right away, longtime friend of the Helping Seniors organization, goes back with Joe to the days when the radio first became a thing, as Joe was building the Joe's Clubs for Brevard Alzheimer's, and here we are all those years later past that, and then now 13 years into the Helping Seniors organization as well. So welcome, Dr. Lee Sheldon with Solid Bite, noted area periodontist and longtime friend of Helping Seniors. How are you today?
Good, Kerry. How are you?
I am well, and I am so excited about a number of things that are coming up. We have, as you may be familiar with, we have now our Senior Resource Center of Brevard. That's that beautiful space there in the Omni Healthcare Professional Tower right there in downtown Melbourne on the medical campus. So that's, I always tell people, it's like just a couple of blocks from the hospital there. It's on South Apollo Drive, 1344 South Apollo Boulevard, 1344 South Apollo Boulevard, and we're there on the second floor. And what's really neat is this has been a vision that Joe Steckler, our president and founder, has had almost from day one. He's always wanted there to be a resource center where seniors could not only get the information that they come to expect for us in senior navigation, which happens, typically now for 13 years via our senior information helpline. That's that free call to 321-473-7770. And, we also try to provide good senior navigation and information through the radio shows, just like the one we're embarking on today with the help of Dr. Lee Sheldon. But the other thing Joe had always wanted to do was get people together in a way that they could interact with each other, a little socialization, a little education, a little community information. So a bunch of events that I'm going to tell you about as we go along in the show. So I'm just saying that right now because there's actually some good events that are going to be coming up next week and the week after, and you're going to want to grab a pencil and a paper and just jot these dates down. So we're going to circle back to that because it's really exciting. And if you haven't had a chance to come by and see us at the Senior Resource Center, you're welcome anytime. It's we're there basically between business hours, and in fact today, Dr. Sheldon, they were trying something new that seemed to I said that it was actually yesterday at lunchtime. They were trying something pretty exciting. They're starting to do this thing where they're doing a food truck Tuesday on the first Tuesday of each month, where they're going to have a different food truck out, and then the food truck actually supports the work of Helping Seniors. So as people go up and have a fun lunch and get to network with other people in the building and basically in the whole medical campus, then they get to have a nice lunch, and part of the proceeds come to keep our little charity going. Dr. Sheldon,
how's the food?
Well, today, I'm glad you asked. Today, it was excellent. The whole thing that happens is I think they're going to invite a different food truck out each time that they go along. So today it was beach freeze and barbecue. So they had a big time out there. There's some pictures out on the Facebook page. You can see Susan House with Coastal Occupational Therapy having fun with looks like a great smoothie. And they were talking. They actually did like a little video clip from out there, and they were saying we have everything, healthy to non-healthy. I guess it's kind of your call. And I think what they're going to do is each month try to have us get a taste of some of the great food trucks out there. And as you know, Dr. Sheldon, this is a far cry from the olden days because all these people can go gourmet now.
Yeah, the food trucks are quite the restaurant now. And, my son lives in Portland. John Harper knows my son very well.
Right.
My son started his radio career with John at WMEL many years ago. My son became a professional broadcaster, sportscaster, went up as far as NBC Northwest and did pregame and postgame shows for the Portland Trailblazers. And pre-show, we were talking about some of the hazards of being in the radio business with John and with Jim, who are the people who remain. Well, Jim, we don't hear. John, we hear at the commercial breaks and for the weather. But all have been in the radio business for a long time. My son finally got to the point where he went to Portland. Food trucks were good, had a family, and said, all right, I can do better than that, and became a voice actor instead. But it just goes to show you where things go within this profession. Radio can spawn an awful lot of a lot of other careers, and or can support a career. And I guess you guys know I've been in media as a dentist, local media, nothing big, for nearly my entire career. So there's a lot of good things that happen within this profession, or I guess for me this hobby.
It's funny because I always look at John Harper as the guy who got Joe Steckler, our president and founder, into the radio side of things. And then I think it's you that were responsible for getting Joe into the TV side of things. And we joke, John Harper is far and away the longest running broadcast personality here on the Space Coast. But I think Joe is a pretty close number 2 as far as the radio goes, because Joe had hosted the Helping Seniors radio show for so many years, and before that, I guess, with the Brevard Alzheimer's. But then you're the guy who introduced him to TV, as I recall the story.
I am, and by the way, another relationship. Just for those of you who've been around Brevard County for a long time, one of our longest broadcasters in Brevard County, John, was a chiropractor. Remember?
Oh, wow.
And it was Dr. Sal Martingano, and Sal and I became good friends when I listened to him on the radio, and I called him, and we got together, like in 1986, 1987. This is all John Harper. And we had a good time together. So, there's an awful lot that's occurred. I met John after I met Sal. I'm sorry, I met John almost right away. I met Sal, and then I met Joe, and so radio has been very, very good to me.
Yeah. No, it's funny because as we talk about this, even though we've all been at this a long time as far as the broadcasts and especially
you too, Kerry.
Well, yeah, but I mean, especially I'm thinking about how much service you guys have given locally. I'm talking about you and Joe and John Harper. But I'm thinking about how the need for what we talk about on the radio gets more and more relevant every single day because so many people are moving into Florida and they don't really know even where to begin, right? They don't have the luxury of the history of knowing, where to go, what to do. So they're always asking questions. And then the other thing is that just because of that, there is just so much ground to cover, so many technological breakthroughs and just things that are happening. And this thing about senior navigation just seems to get more and more important day by day as more and more people, it's an aging boom thing or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is but anyway, good place to live. Made a good decision 43 years ago. Glad I made it.
Yeah, that's what we were just saying that to somebody. My wife and I were just saying that to somebody. We've had a home here since like 97 or 98, and we cannot think of any place else that we would prefer to live. This is really the best place. And so with that, let's go ahead and segue into what we wanted to talk about today, because I love the title. So folks, what happens is when Dr. Lee Sheldon helps us put together things. First of all, he's not only a noted area periodontist, but he has a really, really broad ranging experience and interest in all things kind of health wise. So if you've noticed along the way, we'll talk about a lot of things that may not necessarily be specifically mouth healthy. For example, we talked in a radio show not so long ago about some of the groundbreaking research that's talking about how important keeping your mouth healthy is to preventing heart disease and things like that, as one example. And then Dr. Sheldon himself is called to work with a lot of the other places that are out there. A lot of dental practices look to you for expertise and guidance on how to do that. And so you're always kind of like masterful at coming up with these provocative titles. And so Dr. Sheldon sends me notes for today, because this is actually going to be the article that comes up in the next edition of Senior Scene magazine. And I love it. Ready for the title? The title is "It Happened Again Yesterday." Yes. So it seems to me like we're in for a rollick. First of all, there's got to be a rollicking story behind this, but I know we're going to have a good point that we can learn and take something valuable away from. But I thought that was interesting because without giving away the point of the article, it reminds me of a TV show that you and I did, which I thought was really pretty provocative that you would title it even that way, because you are so well known for advances in implants and a lot of things that go with all of that for sustaining mouth success, and you're known for helping people get perfect smiles and things like that. So I really thought this was an interesting topic. I don't want to steal any thunder. Let you lay out the story, and then we can run from there.
Okay, so let's talk about the story. So it happened again yesterday, and all right, I think I wrote that probably a week or two ago, whatever it was. The patient comes in for a second opinion with his wife, very concerned. Patient is probably in his early 60s is my guess. I forgot. Mm-hmm. And they're here for a second opinion because he was told by his dentist that, and I think he only saw the dentist the first time he'd seen the dentist. He was told by his dentist that he needed 9 teeth extracted. And so he's here to see me to see if I agree with that assessment. Mm-hmm. So we look at him, and I look at him, and I'm finding ways in which we don't have to extract 9 teeth, that perhaps we may have to extract 3. And there's only one definite that needs to be extracted. The others can be treated.
Wow.
It's a problem. And by the way, we're in a position now as healthcare providers that we've got an awful lot of procedures, Kerry, a lot of procedures that we can do, whether it's dental implants, fancy bone grafts, sinus lifts, the things that you see that can be done. And you see the TV commercials, particularly with regard to dental implants, and we don't have to go over, are there too many dental implants being done? The answer is yes, definitely. There are too many implants being done, and we do more dental implants probably than anybody in the county. There are too many implants being done, period. End of story. And the reason is what? We don't now know how to heal patients. We don't know how to help patients heal. We assume that because if a disease is present, nothing that can be done. I'm talking about in this case in periodontal disease, but it's also endodontic disease or root canal disease. We're assuming that nothing can be done. We don't know how to heal the patients, and therefore we take the easy way out by saying, well, you need these teeth extracted. When in fact, the person who's saying that, and this happens a lot, not a little bit, when the person who's saying that doesn't know anything about periodontal treatment and what can be accomplished with periodontal treatment. And that's what we're facing. Interestingly, we have on the order of maybe 5,000 or 6,000 periodontists in the United States. We've got on the order of 250,000 dentists in the United States. And so the opportunities for a patient to see a periodontist, unless a patient decides that he or she wants to see a periodontist himself, is limited if the patient is told by the general dentist, you need this number of teeth extracted. And so I'm seeing the minority of patients who decide on their own to say, all right, most people haven't even heard of a periodontist. They don't know what a periodontist is. So but some do, and some look up gum disease or whatever and end up seeing a periodontist. Then, depending on who the periodontist is, can sometimes and perhaps even often come up with an alternative treatment plan. So it is a problem. It's a problem that I'm addressing head on. I've been publishing with a group of 4 other periodontists with national publications, which we've talked about earlier this year. I'll be addressing it at the American Academy of Periodontology meeting in Austin this weekend. It's something that we can either let go, or it's something that we have to hit head on. And at this point in my career, you've heard me, you've seen me write, you've seen me on TV, you've seen, you've listened to me on the radio. We're just pushing hard, because if we don't push hard, we're going to see more and more and more of these scenarios.
As you're talking about this from a layperson's perspective, one of the thoughts that keeps coming back to me, because we have talked about this a lot. I think, we see so many commercials on TV that just say, oh, you can have, a perfect mouth of teeth and we can do these implants for you. We can do these in a day and blah, blah, blah. And yet we've had the opportunity to dig a little bit deeper, because you have the experience, and so does Dr. Sheldon Furtado as a periodontist himself in your practice, that, you guys understand mouth health in a different way, or in a more serious way than maybe a lot of people casually would think about it. So you always seem to come from the standpoint, let's see first, let's assess and see if we can save that tooth, as opposed to just blindly assuming it has to be yanked out. And I know we've talked about that so much, because you've explained that just, if you don't have good gum health, then it's almost like you're securing something which may be a great idea to something that really can't support that great idea. And I'm talking about your tooth to your gum. and so in your article, it comes off a little bit like, it's like almost like I get the impression that a lot of places are just like one size fits all. Oh, sure, we'll just pull your teeth out and we'll put implants in, or we'll pull your teeth out, we'll put dentures in, or just something like that. And it seems like you really prefer to take a more case-by-case approach and figure out what's going to really be best for that person, right?
Well, I mean, and I would say that the dentist who recommended the 9 extractions also is looking out for the best for that patient.
Good point. Good point.
That's what he thought, or that's what she thought. Periodontics has only been a profession of some kind since the 1950s, and only recognized as a specialty in the 1970s. So it's still relatively young. There's still relatively few of us. And by the way, there are a lot of periodontists who don't think teeth can be saved either. So understand that there's controversy even within my profession. We come into this with a feeling that we've got to do something, and the easiest way, or maybe the most efficient way, is to extract the tooth. And the answer very much is, when we extract the tooth, we've got no options left but to replace that tooth. If we save that tooth, or try to save that tooth, we are testing the body's capability of healing. Now, that means we have to have a certain diagnostic skill in order to be able to determine what teeth can be saved and what teeth can't. And we also have to have a good conversation with the patient, asking what the patient wants. But almost always the patient says, if you think we have a shot at saving the tooth, I want to do it. Now, look, if we're doing as many implants as we're doing, obviously I am not one who believes that every tooth can be saved. That's not the idea. But the idea is that particularly if a patient has the full dentition, if the patient isn't missing teeth already, I'm going to make every effort to save those teeth, and it doesn't cost that much to try to save them. By comparison with what it costs for implants or crowns or anything like that, it really doesn't cost that much. I can test the body's ability to heal, which has everything to do with doing the right treatment at the right time, using perhaps the correct diagnostic tools and perhaps the skill levels that we have that with the therapists that we use in order to be able to achieve the results. Always saying to the patient, I'm not sure, but it looks like you're a case where it can be saved. Do you want me to go ahead and try? And the patient will always say, yes, yes, yes. And, the vast majority of the time, we get results. We get results. Not results where we're preserving infections. We get results where the patient heals, where some bone comes back, and the pus and the bleeding is gone. Those are the kinds of results we get. We get that, and we can avoid implants, or we can avoid prosthetics that go in and out of the mouth, or all of the other prosthetic dentistry that we do. We do that and save the natural tooth. The patient's a lot more comfortable, and actually, for many cases, they spent less money as a result.
I was looking in the text of the article, and I like this because this seems to be kind of like, maybe, I don't know if this is right to say, it's like a guiding principle, but you actually state the principle is to treat the infection first. Don't extract teeth. See how the patient heals due to proper treatment of the infection. And so if we do that and understand that there are causes for infection, and that skill and judgment can reverse those causes, the body can heal. Doesn't that seem like, when I read that seems like so common sense, but then you wonder why people don't take the time. Do you think it's because they don't understand enough about gum disease and mouth health, or is it just because when you're what's the old saw, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail? So if you're a place that specializes in implants, then everything looks like it needs an implant to solve the problem. I don't know. I'm just asking.
I think that's a good part of it. Let's take something that's not dental, and then we'll go back to dental.
Uh-huh.
If we take a look at the medical literature on the success of back surgery, we've got very little data to work on. Yet people have back surgery done all the time. Do you see orthopedic surgeons and chiropractors working together? Not for the most part. There's more now than there ever was before. Are we doing everything we can to go to the physical therapist, maybe, instead of the chiropractor, in order to be able to achieve the best result that we can non-surgically before we go in surgically, particularly when we have very little data to support back surgery? So it's not just us, it is, all right, I can fix, I trained as a surgeon. Obviously, I trained as a surgeon, Kerry. If you look at the types of surgery that I've done as a periodontist, it goes far beyond what most periodontists do. And it has for years. I take pride in the fact that I trained with people who taught me how to do surgery, and taught me how to do surgery the right way, and to do aggressive surgery, and to understand what I can do, what I can accomplish with aggressive surgery. But at the same time, we've got to understand what the body's capability of healing is. So I'm going to give you an example that I'm going to try to paint the picture for you, and let's see if it's clear. So everybody knows, or many people know, about the periodontal probing examination. You place the probe down below the gum line in order to be able to measure how much bone loss the person has had. And so if the probe only goes in 2 or 3 millimeters, you're the number 2 or 3, that's healthy. And if it goes in 10 millimeters, that the person has lost almost all of the bone support for the tooth. So let's talk about the particular patient we're talking about, the one who was told that he needed 9 teeth extracted. So I probed some of these teeth, and in some areas, I was probing 11 or 12 millimeters on a tooth.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay? So I can see the perspective. Oh, you got a 12 millimeter pocket. There's no way on earth I can get that to heal. But then I probed the other side of the tooth, and the other side of the tooth only had a 2. So that means on one side of the tooth, there was health, and the other side of the tooth, there was disease. Okay, I can presume then one of two things. Either the disease is so bad in the 12 that we can never get it to heal, or I can say, hey, it's only a 2 on this side. How about if we get the 12 to mate up with a 2, and maybe we can get some healing there?
Wow. So I follow that. And we're going to continue this conversation with Dr. Lee Sheldon on the second half of Helping Seniors Radio. Stick around. It happened again yesterday.
Some music of your life, a string of pearls there with Glenn Miller. Let's get back to the conversation of your life for this afternoon on Helping Seniors of Brevard. Let's reintroduce the show. Here's your host and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Hey, John Harper, thanks again, and thank you for joining us on the second half of the Helping Seniors radio show. Happens here on 90.3 FM, WEJF, every single Wednesday lunchtime, 12 noon to 1 p.m. And welcome back if you're listening online or continuing along in the podcast. If you were listening the first half, you know our special guest today is longtime friend of Helping Seniors. His name is Dr. Lee Sheldon. He's noted area periodontist with Solid Bite Dental, right there on Sarno Road. Doctors Furtado, Dr. Sheldon and Furtado. It's Dr. Sheldon and your son, Dr. Matt Sheldon, who's a general dentist, and also Dr. Michelle Furtado, who is like yourself, an expert trained periodontist. And we're having a great conversation today called It Happened Yesterday. And what we're talking about, actually, if you were just on the other side of the break, Dr. Sheldon, you were giving us a great story of that was helping us to understand exactly what's going on with the challenges of trying to figure out which teeth make sense to save. And you were sharing with us a story about a tooth that seemed to be very, very like, I guess I would say, extractable based on looking at one side of the tooth. But then when you probe the other side, it seemed like it had promise. So I wanted to kind of get back to that story and see kind of like how that case turned out.
Yeah, it's true. Now, I haven't treated this case yet, so I can't tell you.
Okay.
Because it and when it happened yesterday, it said, all right, we're ready to do treatment. And now the treatment will involve the patient. All right, so just for those who weren't here before the break. So the patient has a 12 millimeter pocket on one side of the tooth, but only measures 2 millimeters on the other side. So it means on one side, the bone is completely destroyed, or almost completely destroyed, and on the other side of the tooth, the bone is intact. And so the typical reaction, and it's the common reaction, would be, let's extract the tooth because the disease is gone all the way to the end of the root. There's nothing we can do. And the answer is, I don't know that until I've cleaned the root off, used appropriate antibiotics if necessary, and allowed the patient to heal. I don't know that. So if I have a patient who has periodontal disease like that, and has periodontal disease to a lesser extent on the other teeth, it literally costs me or the patient no more to treat all of the teeth than to extract the teeth and treat some of the others. So my statement to the patient is, I'm not sure, but I don't think we're going to lose 9 teeth. I think we're going to lose some, but not all of them. I won't know until I've treated everything. And since you have widespread periodontal disease and it'll cost no more to treat them, treat the bad ones and the worst ones, let's treat them all and let's see how patients heal. And during my entire career, that's what I've done. And most everybody saves their teeth for a good long period of time. So the definition of hopeless tooth may be different from one dentist to another, and those who are trained or have the patience and have the wherewithal to treat hopeless teeth find out, maybe they're not so hopeless after all.
You know, as you're telling this story, what I'm thinking about isn't one of the things that all doctors subscribe to is one of the first goals in medicine is to do no more additional harm. And what I was thinking as you were telling that story is like, wow, so if you yank the tooth, there's no going back. I mean, at that point, you're committed to trying to figure out if you can do an implant or something, as I would follow the story. But it doesn't seem like you've come this far. You try the treatment for the teeth as you're explaining, and then okay, maybe it does work, and then you've saved this entire other process that has to go along. And if it doesn't work, you're really not worse off than when you started, as it goes to that one particular tooth. Am I saying that the right way?
You're saying that the correct way. That's correct, Kerry. And what's interesting is, if I have a tooth and I can reverse the disease process, then that means all of the support structures around that tooth, except for that 12 millimeter pocket, are still in place, and the body can build around those support structures. If I extract those teeth, that tooth, the support structure goes away, and I have to do a significant bone graft in order to be able to create enough bone for a dental implant. And so,
Wow.
we're looking at the tooth as being the source of the disease. If we can reverse the tooth and not make it the source of the disease, and provide the environment for the body to heal, then we've saved money, we've saved surgery, we saved your tooth all at the same time. Now, if I'm doing a lot of dental implants, or our office does, I don't do implants anymore. I don't do anything anymore except talk. But if we're able to keep teeth going for a long period of time, given the fact that if we look at dental implants, for example, up to a 45% infection rate around the tissue of dental implants, about around a 22% bone loss rate around dental implants. So dental implants can get periodontal disease just as teeth can get periodontal disease. And that's a
Wow.
significant number on patients with dental implants. That's why we want to see implant patients for cleaning so often. We want to make sure this doesn't happen. And we want to make sure the patient is doing his or her job at home in order to be able to make sure that we're minimizing the chances of infection. We've got so much of a better shot on natural teeth, if they're savable, than we do with dental implants, that at this point, at least for the skilled practitioner, or for the periodontist who knows what to do, or an endodontist who knows what to do for root canal treatment, the patient is better off saving the tooth. And, again, I'm repeating myself. I'm not the typical non-surgical periodontist who doesn't do any surgery at all. I did it all. I did, and you start to get some perspective. I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you another story. And I went over this because you and I have talked about Rebecca Caudill, who started and developed my non-surgical program in the office. It was Rebecca who changed my entire career because
Wow.
she had so much dedication to doing this kind of work. So years ago, I went to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I took a course with a periodontist named Perry Ratcliffe. And Perry Ratcliffe had developed some non-surgical techniques. Now, Perry Ratcliffe was, he was well respected. He was president. He had been president of the American Academy of Periodontology. He's a sharp guy. And so we went to Perry and we saw what Perry was doing. This is well before all of the fancy technology that we have. And we saw what Perry was doing. Now, at that time, what we were doing as periodontists is we were cleaning the root surfaces off. We didn't have any of the endoscopes or anything we have. Cleaning the root surfaces off, and then we were doing gum surgery, and that was the standard periodontal treatment. And Perry said, I don't need to do periodontal surgery very often. So I went to Scottsdale, Arizona, with one of my hygienists, and I said, all right, show me. And I spent 2 days with Perry to see what Perry was doing. Came back to Melbourne, and I said, all right, I saw Perry do it. Here's my declaration. This is the Christmas party of 1987. We were at the Strawberry Mansion, now called the Mansion, on Strawbridge Avenue. And we were upstairs, and I declared to everybody, we are going to do no periodontal surgery for the next 8 months. And we did no periodontal. And here's what we're going to do. Patients are going to come in. Don't forget, periodontal surgery was the norm at that time. By the way, it still is the norm in many cases. I went in and I told the entire staff, we're only going to be doing non-surgical treatment according to Perry Ratcliffe. And if the patient needs surgery, I'm going to do it at no charge. How's that for sticking my neck out when I'm 37 years old and I have a family? So we did that, and 8 months later, out of all the patients we see, and we see a lot of patients, I needed to do periodontal surgery only 4 times, or on 4 patients. That was it.
Wow.
It gave me an opportunity. We talked about the opportunity to see a patient heal it gave me the opportunity to take a deep breath, do everything I knew how to do according to the 1987 technology that I was getting from Perry. And I watched a patient heal. I learned so much from that, Kerry, because I
Wow.
did find out that patients can heal. And if we give them the proper, the best opportunities, the opportunities are better now, as I said, than they were then. Patients are capable of healing. We've just got to slow down and do a little bit and do it really well, and then demonstrate whether, in fact, our hypothesis is correct. And it was.
That comes back to a thing that you pointed out. Again, we're kind of previewing an article that's going to be coming out in Senior Scene magazine on the in the December edition. The article is titled "It Happened Again Yesterday," and this is kind of like this whole conversation about people arriving saying they came with a diagnosis that said, "Hey, all these teeth need to come out," and you take a second look and say, "Well, maybe hold on, not so fast." But one of the thoughts that I was looking in here, and I was thinking, even as you were telling that story, this is why experience does matter, right? Because you have the hand of experience to look at a case and go and really evaluate it. So it's kind of like you're using your best judgment to try to determine, but you have like this tremendous career level of doing this for so long that not everything looks the same to you. You're able to look at those kind of gray shades and go like, let's do this before we do that. That seems to be like really important, that wherever somebody is, that they're working with a medical professional who has enough experience to sense those kind of things. I mean, whether we're talking medical or dental, right?
Well, I think so, but experience can be a double-edged sword. If my only experience is doing dental implants, and that's all I know how to do, then that's my experience. I know how to do dental implants. I know how to do them real well. Okay,
Right.
so there also has to be a willingness to observe. There's a willingness to allow a person to expand himself, herself, allowing a hygienist to expand herself. And Rebecca, of course, I allowed her to do whatever she wanted. She said I needed more. She needs more time. I gave her more time. I mean, whatever it took in order to be able to develop this. But I got to tell you this: you're right in experience, and part of that is the judgment to know when to treat, and maybe just as important, when not to treat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just because we can do it doesn't mean we have to do it. And unfortunately, and particularly we've seen this with COVID in the past 3 years, we don't give the body's ability to heal enough credit. So when we're talking about the immune system, we don't give the body's immune system enough credit to know what to do. Instead, we have to rush to other treatments. COVID is as good an example as you can get with what has been proposed to us and what other alternatives might be available. And of course, these days, the alternatives themselves are quashed. You can't even talk about them because you're going to offend, or worse, or you're going to lose your medical license. So understand that we're in a much different zone, a much different era in the healing arts than we were when I first started. It's a lot different because the consequences can be devastating to people's careers when they make the wrong decision, according to the so-called experts.
Well, and that brings up a question. So if you put yourself in the position of the consumer and you're just trying to, you go to a dentist, and it's really tough on us as consumers because we go to a dentist and then they say, well, I think this is what it is, but maybe go over here and let's get a second opinion. We don't typically have enough skill set to know, what makes the best sense in this. So we're doing our best to try to follow along as best we can. But, again, as I kind of work my way through it, I really think that's why it's so important that you get somebody that you know and trust. And that's why I guess I'm always a little bit sketchy about what I consider, it's probably an unfair term, but something that looks like a mill where, this is what we do. It's like driving through a hamburger stand. This is, place your order and you come out the other side. But this requires a little bit more analysis and considered considered view to try to make sure that we're going in the right way before we just wholesale start yanking teeth, right?
It's true. Opinions are cheap. They are. I mean, I can tell you, I've gone to courses with periodontists who say, from a profit structure, you're not doing enough dental implants. If you just did this, this, and this, you'd be doing more dental implants and making more money. Understand that's some of the training that we get. Whether good or bad, that's what we're getting. I told them the number of implants I was doing. Well, your profit structure aren't quite there if you just did blah, 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 blah. I said, hang on, that's not the direction we're going in. So understand that second opinions and third opinions and fourth opinions may be very good in any area, whether you're talking about a roofer, whether you're talking about periodontal disease. It's there are opinions, and the opinions are based, as you said, on experience, but it's also based on the background and the people you choose to study with, and the ethics of the individual, and what the person knows and what the person doesn't know. There's an awful lot to it. Besides, is it covered by my insurance, which is what a lot of people say.
Yeah, and I guess that's another thing. We make decisions based on what insurance would cover or not cover, and then we think, that may or may not be the correct answer in any particular case. So I guess that's part of the whole discussion too. But you can't really blame people for saying, like, I need to find the most economic route here. If my insurance will pay for this, it would seem like it makes sense, but I guess what you're maybe stating is that, you need to look at first what's the best route for you, right?
Well, we're known for doing very complex work, as we stuff that Matthew and Michelle do. It's just off the charts. It's great, and it's expensive. So, I shouldn't have said expensive twice. Expensive once would have been enough. Now I've said it 4 times. But to do it right, you've got to do it right. And years ago, when I opened my practice, I said, "Well, I'm not going to do this for what the insurance benefits pay, because I'm going to do it the way I think it needs to be done, and therefore it may cost a little bit more, but I get to do it the way I want to do it." So years ago, I said no insurance. I took insurance for a short period of time, and I said, "Oh, this is what it's like. I never want to do this again." But I tried it. It's a matter of being able to work directly with the patient and ask the patient what he or she wants. And if we talk about a dental implant, which is thousands of dollars by the time you get done putting the tooth on the dental implant versus saving the tooth, my periodontal treatment might be more expensive than what a general dentist does. It could be, but if we're saving teeth rather than doing dental implants at a few thousand a clip, or more than a few thousand a clip, you're probably going to save money. And the insurance benefits, particularly in dentistry, aren't that great anyway. So, is it worthwhile? And I'm not doing this to sell myself. Thank God we're very, very busy. But the idea is that patients it goes back to giving the patients the opportunity to heal. Giving the patient the opportunity to heal and observe and see how the patient does before we make radical decisions. We do that, we're going to save ourselves time and money in every aspect of healthcare, not just dentistry.
Yeah, and then there's also the part about being sure that you've done the correct thing, so you didn't put like a Band-Aid on something, or take the cheap route out, and then it's still going to cause problems later. It's so funny because in the Helping Seniors world as a charity, we spend a lot of time on senior navigation, senior education. We talk, and so as you know, Joe has always talked about an aging plan. We call it getting your ducks in a row. But one of the corollaries that we developed along the way, we tell people, but corollary number one is don't try this on your own. You got to get for almost anything that you're looking at. You have to be sure that you have somebody that knows their territory, has your best interest in mind, and then can guide you, so you're not like, Googling things or trying to figure out stuff on your own that you have no business trying to figure out on your own. That's one of the reasons we've been talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon with Solid Bite Dental, great practice that has really kind of led the way in terms of implants and everything else, and periodontal practice right there on Sarno Road. But one of the things that you do that benefits us as a charity, you have a program called Solid Bite Gives Back. And I love the kind of the spirit behind it, because the goal is that you, as a person who can really speak into, as an expert, what's going on with somebody's oral health, and come up with a, kind of a decision tree of here's your best options. You really need good data to help you get there. And so you put that together in a way that's very affordable for the person to be able to take advantage of it. And in fact, it actually helps us as a nonprofit. Talk for just a second as we kind of close up, because I promised I wanted to get a couple of dates out there for some good events at the Senior Resource Center. But how do people take advantage of that program, and how does it work?
Yeah, the program is very simple. You make an appointment, tell people that you've heard us on the radio or wherever you've heard us, and they will they'll put you in the Solid Bite Gives Back program, which essentially means you write a check for $50 to Helping Seniors of Brevard, and you get the examination, the X-rays, the CT scan at no charge. And so the charity benefits, and you benefit, and you'll get 2 hours of us, if you think that's the benefit. Where we'll go over your case in detail. And it's interesting how many people come in and they think they're going to spend a lot of money, and I can pleasantly surprise them that it's the other way. But also there are plenty of cases where they have to spend a lot of money to it. Don't get me wrong. But even then, there are alternatives. I had somebody yesterday who needs to build up over the next 5 years, and how can we stabilize them over the next 5 years? We came up with a way. I mean, there's a way to be able to think through a case. But yeah, I mean, our charitable giving campaign is now at over $280,000 for local charities, including Helping Seniors of Brevard.
Wow. Yeah. So if somebody says, I would like to take advantage or at least get more information, I think it's just a win-win-win for everybody. It gives you, as the medical professional, the data you need to know to give the best advice. And that kind of goes back to that don't try this on your own thing. But it's great for the consumer because it's affordable and you're getting really good information. And then it's wonderful for us as a charity because it helps us keep everything, the lights on and the wheels turning so we can do the work of Helping Seniors of Brevard. But how do they get in touch with you?
Yep, just give us a call, 321-259-8000, and we'll get you all set up for an appointment and hopefully the best dental examination you've ever had in your entire life.
Yeah, no, I would believe for that. So, Dr. Sheldon, one of the things I want to do is share, I mentioned at the top of the show, some great events that are coming up at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard, and would like to remind folks that all of these things that we do, they're free. So like next Tuesday, I'm talking about the 14th of November, we're doing a medical kind of a thing each month on that second Tuesday. And this time it's together with our friends at Care Plus Health Plans, of one of the great Medicare supplement, Medicare Advantage plans is technically what they call it, but also our friends at Omni Healthcare, who really have a excellent team of physicians and medical professionals designed to help. And so one of the things that I really like is that we have a thing called cornucopia of health options. So there'll be a little food, but there's also going to be some real good information there for you. That runs 11 to 1 p.m. at the Senior Resource Center. I'm going to give you a number that you can jot down, 321-473-7770, and we'll get you good information as we go along about the different events that are coming up. So if you hear something, you got a question, or maybe you didn't get to jot down the date, just give us a call and we'll help you with it. But this is going to be fun because the next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, we have a holiday local market shopping event. And that the team at the Senior Resource Center wanted to do that, invite some local vendors to have very inexpensive but quality local gifts from merchants locally. They can do the gift wrapping and everything. And it's just a fun thing because we're 100% local charity. So we really believe in local community. That's going to be a fun day, 10:30 to 2:30. It's going to be right there at the Senior Resource Center, 1344 South Apollo. Then the following Tuesday, now we're talking about the 21st of November, we're actually doing a thing called Thank You Veterans. And I know Veterans Day is actually coming up later this week. And so what we made a calculation, we thought that what would be nice is to let everybody take advantage of some great things. Our friend Mark Pylock opens up his American Muscle Car Museum to veterans on Veterans Day. And so there's a lot of things that you can take advantage of. But what we thought was in sort of the spirit of Thanksgiving, on the 21st, we would like to have a Thank You Veterans program that happens right there at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. So some of our friends from like St. Francis Reflections and Vitas, they're both going to be there at one at the beginning of the day, one at the end, doing a veterans pinning ceremony to make sure that we're honoring them, plus some photos at no charge that will be printed out so that you have those. And we got some amazing speakers and some fun things like a World War II touch chest that's going to be there. So you need to call us at 321-473-770 and get in touch with, what the events are that will make a difference. So that's the time we have for today. We'll see you next Wednesday right here on the radio for Helping Seniors. Have a great week till then.